What is going on, Laker fans? Appreciate you guys tuning into the show. Little Lakers basketball, little NBA Lakers content, predominantly Lakers basketball. But appreciate you guys tuning in on this Tuesday. Hope you guys are off to a good week. Got a few things that I want to get into. Saw some topics, did some stuff on the radio show, so I also wanted to get into it here as well. That I think would be interesting for Laker fans out there, and certainly some good NBA content in the middle of August. So thank you for being a part of the show. If the first time you've been on the show, appreciate you being here. If you've been on here before, thank you for coming back. Please subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. Would really, really, really appreciate if you can do that. Okay. Three things I'm going to get into in today's show. Kevin Garnett praising Anthony Davis and talking about how he thinks AD will be an MVP in the next couple of years. Spend a little time on that. I don't fully agree with that. I'll give part of my reasoning. The in-season tournament, the Lakers schedule is out as far as what that in-season tournament will look like. So spend a little time. I think from the outgo, everybody has been really negative about the in-season tournament. I'm going to try to support it. I might be by myself on an island, but that's okay. I'm going to try to do that. And then Darvin Ham talked on ESPN about, I think the interview, double check here. I thought it was with Dave McMenamin. But Darvin Ham eventually talked on ESPN and was really, really bullish about the Lakers' chances of competing for a championship. But he said one thing in specific that I want to get into that he thinks is going to be the most important thing. So let's get right into it. Again, please subscribe to the channel if you have not. AD for MVP. So I don't know where you guys are on this. I'm really, really out of the mix in this conversation. I think the last couple of years is where I kind of decided, I don't think AD is going to win an MVP. And to be honest with you, it'd be cool, but it's not something that I guess I think about too much, that a certain individual player getting it. I don't know how big of a deal it is. I think I'm more concerned that Anthony Davis is playing 60, 65 games. I'm more concerned that Anthony Davis is putting up consistent numbers. I'm more concerned about Anthony Davis being healthy. I'm more concerned that the Lakers have a playoff run where AD is available. Those are the type of things I think about with Anthony Davis. I don't necessarily try to, well, he's got to be MVP. And by the way, I don't know if I fully agree that he has to be in the MVP conversation for the Lakers to have a chance of winning a championship. I could use last year as an example. But let me read off a quote here, because I really, really like that this is coming from KG, that it's coming from a former player. But Kevin Garnett was on a podcast, and he's on a podcast with Paul Pierce, I believe. Yep, with Paul Pierce. And he's talking about Anthony Davis's chances, or what his expectations are for AD. So let me read off the quote exactly. So this is what Kevin Garnett said. And again, I'm appreciative of KG going to bat for Anthony Davis. I just don't know if I fully agree with it. There have been so many former players that have taken shots at Anthony Davis. Think of the Inside the NBA crew, the TNT crew, which I think everybody would agree. Every NBA fan, you watch Inside the NBA, you love Charles' perspective, Shaq's perspective, Kenny's perspective, Ernie's perspective. You love them all. But man, has that show specifically taken some low blows on Anthony Davis. But let's put that to the side for a quick second here. This is what Kevin Garnett said about AD. He said, I'm expecting Anthony Davis to be MVP in these next 2 years. It's time. It's time. You can let Joker come in the league, and you can't let Joker come in the league and surpass you. Anthony Davis can do everything they can do. Anthony Davis can do everything Joker can do. He can do everything Embiid can do. I'm expecting him to be the MVP. If not this year, definitely next year. So again, this is KG talking about Anthony Davis, and his expectation is that AD is going to win the MVP at some point over the next 2 years. I said this a little bit earlier on the radio show, that I feel like KG is 2 years behind of other Laker fans that have followed Anthony Davis since he became a Los Angeles Laker. And I'll tell you what I mean by that he's 2 years behind. He's 2 years behind in the sense that lot of Laker fans had these expectations for Anthony Davis 2 years ago. And a lot of Laker fans were sitting back. You guys remember after the 2020 championship, Lakers win in the Orlando bubble. ESPN comes out with their player rankings, and the top two players in the NBA, it was Braun at 1, AD at 2. That's a pretty damn good combination. You're probably going to win multiple championships if you have the two best players in the NBA. And we know what happened after that. It was really difficult for Anthony Davis to stay on the floor. And there was also some inconsistency in his play, but more than anything else, he just wasn't available all the time. So that in itself really hurt his chances of competing for an MVP. But I know for me, for 2 straight years, it's kind of, you've been the cheerleader of AD is going to start taking over. This is AD's team. AD is going to be the guy that, you can look at on a night in, night out basis and carry the Lakers franchise and carry the torch and everything else that we've had so much of these conversations. But the reality is that any of those other players that we're talking about, Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA. Joel Embiid, you can't get as talented as Joel Embiid, and he's obviously the reigning MVP and just a beast of a player. Giannis Antetokounmpo is not just an MVP, a former MVP. He's also an NBA champion. All those guys have kind of done it, and they've been the best player on their teams on a consistent basis. So I think what KG is saying, again, I go back to this. I appreciate what KG is saying. I like that KG is sticking up for Anthony Davis. I mean, listen what he's saying here. AD can do everything they can do. Anthony Davis can do everything Joker does. He can do everything Embiid can do. I'm expecting to be MVP, if not this year, definitely next year. Well, I'm not as bold on that. And I'll tell you why I'm not as bold on that. And I think most Laker fans would understand this. You play 60 to 65 games if you're Anthony Davis. Every Laker fan's signing up for it. That's number one. And there's no guarantee that's gonna happen. I mean, go look at some of his stats, and his stats would clearly tell you that has not played to his favor as far as being around and being on the team. I just want to look up real quick how many games he played last year. So this is in his last few years or so. Played 56 games in his final year in New Orleans, 62 the first year with the Lakers, then 36, then 40, then 56 last season. That's one of the most he's played as far as games. So 56, one of the higher numbers. You play, like I said, 60 to 65 games, and you're super stoked. You're excited that AD played that many games. So I always have I don't know how confident I am that he's going to be able to do that on a consistent basis. That's number one. Number two, and I think this is just as important, AD's just not consistent enough. Not consistent enough. Now, you go look at his raw numbers, and his raw numbers would tell you 26 points, 12 rebounds, and how many block shots did he average last year? But 26 and 12 was his numbers. I'm going to look at his blocks. I think it was 2. Yes, 2 on the dot. You would say that's actually pretty damn consistent. What the hell are you talking about? But AD also had a lot of highs and lows. That AD's highs can be as high as any other player out there, but the problem is these other players don't have the types of lows that he has. Joker certainly does it. Now, Joker's not a fraction of a defender that AD is. Embiid definitely doesn't have some of those lows. Giannis certainly doesn't have some of those lows that AD has. So I think what's hurting Anthony Davis, and I've just kind of accepted him as this player, he's a really, really, really good player. You can make an argument he's top 10 in the NBA. But I think that for everything to go his way, for everything to go right, for the availability to be there, for his game to also go to another level, I have hesitancy on that. And why wouldn't I? And I have hesitancy just based on what I've already seen from Anthony Davis. So, yes, he got his new extension. He's going to be a Laker for the next 5 years if both sides, obviously if he decides if he doesn't go anywhere, get traded or any of that stuff, he's going to be a Laker for the next 5 years. He's already won a championship with the Lakers. He's been such a key piece to the team when he's out there. He was a big reason why the Lakers were able to get to the Western Conference Finals. But ultimately, as much as I want to be on KG's side on this, I do not think Anthony Davis is winning an MVP in the next 2 years. I feel like that conversation was from 2 years ago, and KG's got a lot of optimism for it. I wish I did as well, but I don't have as much optimism on that. So, Laker fans, I'll throw this out to you guys. You think over the next 2 years, do you have faith that Anthony Davis will be an MVP or is in that MVP conversation? I guess it's not crazy, crazy, crazy to think that he can be, but I think I've watched enough Anthony Davis that um, winning an MVP is not really one of the concerns. It's more about, is he available? Is he around? And is he playing on a consistent basis? We know what he does defensively. The man is an absolute beast. Does not get enough love and credit for that. But there are a lot of times offensively where I think we see what his numbers look like in the fourth quarter. We see he's not aggressive and getting to the free throw line. There's a lot of other factors that come into play. So AD MVP, if you think that can happen or not, what do you think of KG's comments? Put it below here. Okay. Now let me piss some people off. Yeah, sometimes we got to anger some people. Not on purpose, but I feel like a lot of people get angry about this topic. In-season tournament. NBA had already announced that this NBA or this in-season tournament was going to happen. And what was it now? Maybe a month ago or so. I can't remember how long ago it was, but they started talking about, all right, there's these different groups. And the Lakers found themselves in Group D or Group 4, or whatever they call it. It's with Memphis, Phoenix, Utah, Portland, and of course the Lake Show. And there was a lot of chatter and conversation about okay, why the hell are they doing this tournament? Does this tournament make any sense? Should they be doing it? I mean, I don't have to sit here and explain to all you guys. This conversation has gone on and on for a long time, and a lot of people are not that bold or that excited about the league having this in-season tournament. So let me go through a couple things here, because today the NBA announced that the in-season tournament, they announced the schedule for the Los Angeles Lakers. So now we know who they're going to play, and we know when they're going to play. So the Lakers in-season tournament schedule looks like this. November 10th will be the first in-season tournament game. It's at Phoenix. All right. November 14th is the second in-season game. It's home hosting the Memphis Grizzlies. November 17th at Portland. November 21st versus Utah. And that will be their in-tournament schedule. And then from there, it's going to be based on if they're able to advance and everything else. So right out the gate for me, I know there really isn't much of an incentive here. I think the players on the winning team, whoever wins the tournament, will get $500,000. Each player will get $500,000. I guarantee you the NBA is going to find a way to sell unique sponsorships and advertisers, and I'm sure have rights deals that go who's going to carry the NBA in-season tournament. The NBA is going to find a way to make money. The question is going to be, from a consumer perspective, you care about this or do you not? I like the schedule that the Lakers have. I think it's interesting. They could potentially, I think what I've seen is when the schedule comes out, 80 games will be on the schedule, not 82. The other two they're going to have to figure out. If you're one of the 22 teams eliminated, not the final 8 to get into the whatever tournament, the rest of the tournament, maybe the knockout stage, if you want to call it, then they're going to schedule your final 2 games based on that. I feel a lot of negative energy that's going towards this in-season tournament. Let me make my case here. By the way, your thoughts on the in-season tournament, let me know below if you give a rat's ass or not, or you're excited, you're not excited. My thoughts on it is pretty simple. For me, I think trying something new is always a good idea. And can it fall flat on its face? Absolutely it can. But what is the harm of this in-season tournament if it's basically your regular season schedule? That this is going towards your regular season. Their games in November, so it's not like it's that big of a deal. I think that, what eventually happens with this in-season tournament, I'm not telling you that people should throw a parade and hang up a banner if they end up winning this whole thing. But I think it's going to add a little bit of lore to games that really weren't all that meaningful in November anyways. It's going to give a little bit of, I guess incentive is not the right word, but I think it's going to give a little bit of interest that probably is not there unless you're just a real NBA nut like I am, or a real NBA fan like probably a lot of these people who are watching a video about the NBA and the Lakers in August. I think we're probably not the best examples of who's going to watch this thing or not. I want to give the NBA the benefit of the doubt, and I want to give Adam Silver the benefit of the doubt because I think Adam Silver has done a good job with the NBA, and I think the in-season or the playing tournament has been a success. I think some of the different things that the NBA has done to try to make the game more exciting, try to make the game more enjoyable. Now they do stuff that are wrong. I think the replays, how long they take, that we could bitch and complain like anybody can about certain things around the league. But I think ultimately, let's just see what the heck happens here. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think, it's obviously not going to impact the playoffs. Two teams will play one more game instead of 82, they'll play 83. So at the end of the day, I don't think this thing is going to do any harm. The Lakers schedule is out. There's some really good matchups out there. And I think, ultimately what Adam Silver was trying to do is basically trying to copy what he's trying to do is, I guess, essentially copy what soccer does with their format and something, I guess you can call it similar, but in some of this, the European soccer, trying to see if he can potentially create something like that around the NBA. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I'm not as upset about the NBA trying something different. I think a lot of other people are. My only advice that I would give is let's just give this thing a chance. And if it fails miserably, then the NBA will probably not do it. But I think it's going to be around to stay because I think this is going to be in the equation. Watch that Johnny Manziel, that doc on, I think, Amazon. One of the coldest things when he does this. So I just thought about that right now. Of the NBA is trying to make their money, and they're going to make their money. And then let's see what it's like for the consumer. And if it's, a bust, then it's a bust. And we'll just spend a lot of time talking about how stupid the tournament was. But if it draws some interest, attracts, get some numbers, get some ratings, then I think we'll probably sit back and say, you know what, Adam Silver took a chance on something, and it eventually worked out. Okay, so your thoughts on the in-season tournament and that Lakers schedule? Feel free to give your comments below. Like I said, in-season tournament, November 10th is when it will start, and it will go for, sounds like, a couple of weeks. Okay, final thing I want to get into. So Darvin Ham was talking on ESPN, and he had a long, long quote about why he thinks the Lakers can win an NBA championship. Of course, he's not going to say that he can't or that they can't. And they did get to the Western Conference Finals, so you could certainly make a case. And he went into all the things. He talked about how the team, look how close they got. They got LeBron and AD. Look at the signings that they made, the players that they added. One of his quotes, I think we added a lot of depth, a lot of guys that have skill, size, and athleticism. So I look forward to all of that coming together. But I'm going to skip some of those quotes because I think there's one portion of what he said here that sticks to me the most that I think is going to be a crucial part of this upcoming season. So Darvin Ham again on ESPN. He says, a coach I worked for always used to say, the most together team will win. The most together team will win. He says, I think the togetherness, and obviously you need to execute and have a team full of guys who are willing to sacrifice their personal goals, their personal agendas to align themselves with what the team goal is, and that's to win an NBA championship. I'm going to read one more quote here that he had at the end. Obviously, in the middle of that is talent, but at the end of the day, it's a team sport, and the team that's most together, selflessly putting themselves on the line for the greater good of the team, those are usually the teams that come out on top. I really like the quote. And, we could sit here and we can make arguments about the personnel that the Lakers have and certain players that have to step up, luck that has to also go your way. Anthony Davis has to be healthy. LeBron James is going to be 39 years old in December. I mean, there's a lot of areas where you get a little concerned, you get a little worried because of that. But at the same time, I think one of the most important things to pay attention to, I think what he's saying there, do the Lakers have a team put together if health plays their way, And if LeBron and Anthony Davis are still the caliber of players that obviously the Lakers need them to be, and of course LeBron will just naturally take another step back. What size of a step back will be, I'm not sure, but the man is about to be 39 in his 21st season. Um, they're going to need role players to play their role. They're going to need guys step. They're going to need all that. But is there a player on this team that you feel like is I don't feel like there's anyone on this team that will not be pulling the rope in the same direction. When he says togetherness is one of the most important things that you have to have, and when he sits back and he completely reiterates, does Austin Reeves seem like a player that's selfish to you? Does Rui Hachimura seem like a player that's selfish to you? Does Anthony Davis seem like a player who's selfish to you? Does Braun seem like a player? Does D'Lo seem like a lot of these guys? I would actually make an argument that they got too many players that are not selfish enough of I got to go make this happen. And I when I say that, what I'm referring to is let me use Kobe as an example. Maybe not the best example because Kobe was one of the greatest to ever do it. Kobe's selfishness, because Kobe had selfishness, but it was I'm going to make sure it gets done. There were times where Powell was not selfish enough, or AD is not selfish enough. That you want to see these guys like, look, you're too good of a player not to be more selfish. They got a bunch of guys that I really, really feel, and even the guys that they brought in, Gabe Vincent, some of these other guys, they got a lot of guys that I feel like are playing for the team. Nothing else. Are playing for the team. So those quotes resonated for me because I do think Darvin Ham, of course, he feels like the Lakers will have a chance to win a championship. They just got to the Western Conference Finals. But listen, the competition is not going to be nearly as easy. Phoenix is going to be good. Golden State's always going to be in the mix. I like Memphis's team with the Marcus Smart. Let's see what happens with them. Will the Clippers be healthy? The Denver Nuggets won an NBA championship. Go down the list of all the good teams in the West, and I haven't mentioned any of the teams in the East. But with all that being said, I think that his reasoning of why he feels like this team is going to be so competitive is completely legit, and I feel like has a lot of truth to it. Okay, Laker fans, AD MVP. Do you care? Do you not care? Do you believe in KG's comments? In-season tourney, Lakers schedule. Their in-season tournament is out. Are you excited about that? I actually am. I'm curious to see how it goes. And then Darvin Ham talking about how, of course, the Lakers got a shot to win this whole thing, but how much they kind of unite and play together is going to have a lot to do with it. So that's what I got for today. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. I got Lakers talk tonight on radio as well. A lot of these will be part of the conversation as well, so you can go tune into that. Thank you, Lake fans. Appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. We'll catch up with you guys soon. Thank you.